Hello, my beautiful friends, my fellow sparkly space blobs, or whatever form is feeling connected to you. I am here for all of it. I'm so happy to have you here. We are going to be diving into December's intuitive notes. And as I was sitting down here today, I realized why this little conversation is important and the role it plays. And that's because I think this is such a tender time of year. It's often where we do a lot of scorekeeping on ourselves. How did the year go? What have we accomplished? What do we need to get done in this tiny window of time? Who do we need to become by the time January begins? I can feel that pressure building in me already. And I know so many of us feel that. And the other thing is that I've really noticed so many of us, people I've been talking to here in the comments, on my Patreon, in my life, phone calls I've been on with different people. There is this thing happening in the air right now. And it's partially all the questions we have with the global pain we're in and how is this next version of the world going to look? But I think that also happens on an individual level. The number of people that I have talked to right now who are just wondering, what is this going to look like? How am I going to work with this? How am I going to even know what the next step is? The level of mystery right now is very, very high. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. You might feel really alone in that you're in between lifetimes, that you're in between identities, that you don't really know how to move forward in life. You are far from alone. I'm there with you for sure. And I can vouch for the fact that so many others are as well. So I think my goal for this conversation, for our December intuitive notes, is to set us up so that we can work with the grace and the beauty of this time of year in our own ways and take some of the pressures and the heaviness off of it and maybe even embrace the mystery a little bit. Because honestly, sitting down here today, I've got my tea. The sun has peeked out a little bit here in Sweden, which is very exciting. And I'm feeling so tired. And it's not tired in the sense of today, not getting enough sleep. I've been very lucky in recent months that I've been sleeping very well. It's the kind of tired that comes after 3 years of living totally outside of my comfort zone every single day of my life. And I've been really feeling that. I was on a call with my therapist last week, and I was telling her that I felt like I was hitting up against this energetic wall. And she said, well, that's there for a reason. It's not just some random wall that's been erected in your life that's causing you problems. This is a wall that is telling you that there's something to pay attention to. And that's true. I think for me, I've used my creative source energy so powerfully over these last 3 years to move to a new country, to learn to express myself in a new language. And even here in this space, just learning to be myself, letting go of the performances and the expectations that I had of who I need to be in order to be accepted, in order to be loved, in order to be quote unquote successful, whatever that is, all this striving that's been going on, as well as the deep, true exploration, releasing identities, exploring new ones. All of that has been going on. And I'm coming into this December feeling like I really don't know that I have much to say right now. I don't know how to move forward next. I don't know what it's going to look like. For those of you who have been with me on this journey, you know I've been moving through a lot of shifts and changes and really thinking about like what matters and why I care about this space and what it means when I show up here in the way that I mean. So that's all to say that I'm coming into our December intuitive notes very tired and personally needing to acknowledge that I have to pay attention to what's really going on here and slow down a little bit. And I think this time of year, there's so much pressure when it comes to time, to this idea of calendars and clocks and goals. It's all there in the air, buzzing. I can feel it. I can feel that pressure, and I want to release that. So let's talk about some intuitive themes that I'm picking up for this December. I think it might be a balm for the soul for anybody who is feeling that in-betweenness or who just wants a soft place to land as we close out this year, as we move into this last month of the year. So grab your tea, your coffee, your journal, whatever's feeling good, get cozy, get ready for your walk, whatever you're doing, and let's have a really lovely, calming, chilled out conversation about this December. The first thing I've been noticing as I feel through the end of this year is this sense that there has to be a way to let go of some of the heaviness we're feeling around the mystery. I know that there are some serious things going on in the world. There are serious things going on in our lives. I've heard from some of you, about like the pain of your burnout and your need to stay alive. And I know many of us are feeling the seriousness of the world and these big questions that we have looming around ourselves. But I think for me, the number one thing that came up when I thought about December was I want to take things less seriously where I can, right? Because I will take my sense of having low creative energy very seriously. I will take my wondering about, what work is going to look like next very seriously. I will take scheduling everything out and making sure I get everything done and making sure I get every phone call and every email sent very seriously. And that has not been serving me very well recently. Instead of that being the thing that motivates me and allows me to move forward in my day and connect with people and do things that are meaningful, I often find that it just freezes me up and it makes it less possible for me to just be present, with my beautiful dog or with my friends or even just in a quiet moment with myself. And so one goal that I have, honestly, about the end of this year and about all those unanswered questions is to take those less seriously, less of that heavy energy that feels like I need to sort it out right now and that I need to be in charge of it, and to maybe have a little bit more of a playful, fun perspective on all of that. And I think that really connects for me to the watery wisdom of both Neptune and Saturn over in Pisces. These are energies that really ask us to stop trying to micromanage our lives, stop trying to make it this clear-cut box that we put everything in, and start to really embrace the creative wildness of this life, that there's no way that we're going to heal the hurt of the world or to figure out our next moves by controlling ourselves, by controlling our thoughts, by controlling the way that we take something seriously. That seriousness is pretending to do a job that it really can't. And the seriousness is really hiding a part of ourselves that's concerned, that wants to keep us safe and that wants to keep the world safe. But it's a job that it's not able to do. And one of the things that's just in the air right now is that Neptunian and Saturnian in Pisces energy that we're all working with, and is asking so many of us to let go of the rigidity of the way that we label ourselves, the way that we look at ourselves, the way that we look at the value of our lives, the way that we look at this whole world and the experiment of living a life in this world. It's asking us to find ways to be a little bit more fluid, a little bit more flexible. And that doesn't mean there aren't times of responsibility, that idea of being able to respond to life, to be able to respond to what is needed in the moment that we are in. Yes, that's a beautiful thing. Like, let's have that. But I think a lot of us that are seekers and sensitives do take all of this very seriously, and we feel the weight of it, and we're concerned about a lot of things. So this is just an encouragement that if you're feeling really serious or heavy about how are you going to solve the new year, how are you going to get things done, this is a great time to release that. The next thing that has been on my mind so much as we come into this final month of the year is these ideas of romanticizing and manifestation. I know these can be beautiful things to really feel in the poetry of living the mundane life can be so beautiful, and wanting to create is so beautiful. But I do think that the way that this is sometimes talked about on the apps is a little superficial. Yes, it's fun to pretend that we're on some miraculous adventure and our cup of tea is very magical. That's all great. That's all great. I'm not here to say stop doing whatever fantastical daydreaming you're doing. I am definitely for that. But I think for me, like, those things don't hold me through the mystery. They don't hold me through the not knowing of what's next. And I think for me, I'm much more interested in the deep growl of truth, which will kind of come in its own form. It has a different language than anything that we might have seen in stories that we've read or in expectations of what is a romanticized life. That deep growl looks so much different and more wild than any romanticization we could do in our lives, any vision board manifestation we could do. And for me, that holds me much more clearly, and it allows me to bring my true self along on the journey. So sometimes when I'm having a hard day, or I'm feeling in the mystery, or I don't really know how to move through this moment in the year as we cross over that threshold at the end of December into the new year, I listen for that deep growl first, because it will show me something that I'm needing. And I think for me, the deep growl also releases me from the status quo manifesting, romanticizing energy that we'll often see that has to do with living a pretty life and living a social life and living whatever, there's all these different criteria you could be looking at. There's all sorts of messages that get sent our way through this technological world that tell us what it is that we're supposed to be longing for. But for me, the deep growl gets me to the truest place in myself. And a lot of the things that I dream about from that deep growl place, they're not romantic, they're not cute, they're not aesthetic at all. And they do not fit into what a lot of people would consider beautiful life. And that's okay. Like, we don't all have to be in consensus about what a beautiful life looks or feels like. But I think it can be really helpful to release some of the pressure to feel like we have to feel like everything's beautiful and be manifesting it all. The next theme is maybe my favorite one that's been coming up for me for December. And that is to lower your expectations and let some of them go completely. And I think this is an important one. The more I thought about this, and I'm getting goosebumps right now thinking about this, but the more that I thought about this, the more I felt the truth of it. I think a lot of times there's a false dichotomy here, that high expectations means you have good boundaries, you aren't going to be stepped all over, you're not going to get hurt, you are going to know who you are and what you want. And that low expectations means that you are just letting anybody come into your space, that you are letting people walk all over you, and that you don't know who you are and you don't have respect for yourself. And of course, there are certain expectations that we will have in life about how we want to be treated, about respecting our time, all of those things. That's great. Sure, do that. But I think sometimes lowering our expectations can be a form of deep self-respect. A lot of us carry expectations of who we need to be in the world, how we need to be in the world, and it's these high expectations, and they're heavy, and they are tiring, and they don't honor who we really are inside, even though they pose as these high quality standards, as these high quality goals, as these commendable traits that we are pursuing. There are certain places where it's okay to just completely let go of expectations or lower them significantly. For example, productivity-wise right now, I might have an idea that I want to launch my blog, that I want to bring people to on my website, and that I want to create a whole new series, or I want to create a whole new tarot class, which I'm going to be working on that. I am in the new year, but at my pace. I have a lot of expectations that are quite high, that are quite pressure filled for the next 4 weeks. However, that doesn't mean, just because I have the high expectations doesn't mean I will function that way. I will just carry the high expectations with me the whole time. So I think at the very beginning of December, it's a great time to assess, what can you just completely lower your expectations on or let go of completely, honestly, and take a really good look at that. And I think this is a really great trick too for the new year. And if you're looking for guidance on that, I'm going to talk a lot more in depth about how to kind of figure out what your expectations, how they're working with you in our Gentle New Year series over on Patreon. So I would highly recommend joining that 4-week journey starting around the solstice for guidance on that. I'm going to be walking you through it, holding your hand the whole way. All right, the final theme, the final feel here is to just take a moment to connect with and reflect on your relationship with time and goals, and success. I bring this up pretty frequently. Every few months, I will talk about how we define success, how we define our goals, how we define time. But I think this is a pretty crucial point in the year for just taking a little bit of time. I've been really thinking about my relationship to time and my expectations of myself, and noticing what's really working with me, what's acknowledging who I really am, not just who I'm trying to be all the time, who I'm trying to scamper after. I've talked about it before, but this idea of kind of chasing your ideal self, and you're always behind your ideal self. Like, I feel like I'm always behind my ideal self. She's like, a year ahead of me, 10 minutes ahead of me. It doesn't even matter the actual amount of time. All I know is that I have this feeling like I need to be at a different time and place at all times when I'm kind of pursuing that. So kind of finding a way to talk about the journey of my timing and my time as my own magical process that's mysterious in its own way. I think for me, my goals have a lot to do with my core values and how I want to feel and my well-being and how I want to give in the world, and releasing some of that. I know this is all I think reevaluating and reflecting is a very obvious place to go, I think, in December. I think most of us are probably doing that. But I do think that even then, when we know that that's something that we're doing, just even questioning our relationship to the concept of a new year, even questioning our relationship to the concept of this coming month and what that's really meaning to us is so powerful. I decided I couldn't resist pulling one card from the Cat Tarot because we all love it. It brings everybody a smile for the most part. It definitely brings me a smile, and I just want to pull one card. One gentle, intuitive message for this month, just moving into it, moving into this strange, interesting, energetic landscape that we are in and feeling through that. I think, we open up December with this Sagittarian, mutable fire energy, which is so much about release and embrace and breath and modulating between versions of ourselves and finding some peace within that. And I think that the more we can relax into and take the mystery less seriously, the more its serious beauty can come in. And the Two of Wands came through. I love the Two of Wands. It's such a beautiful card of vision. And I think what's important about Two of Wands, of course, here we have a kitten playing with a toy and the joy of that and the playfulness of that, which I think is very important in the context of this deck, is that playfulness, going for things. It's the ability to vision things well beyond our immediate surroundings and well beyond the how and the why and well beyond the exhausting kind of thinking about how we're going to gird ourselves to force it to happen. This is about soft dreaming. soft dreaming knowing that we don't have the answers. We don't know exactly how that's going to look. And that it's not about the pressure to accomplish it, but it's just about the joy of having the soft dreams themselves. I think that is a beautiful place to go. It reminds me also of the deep growl. I think the deep growl and soft dreams work very well together. One is very wild and outside of the human concept, that growl energy, that deep growl in our bones. And one is very much from that spiritual, etheric, kind of ethereal, energetic of seeing the world through a softer light. And I think both of these are wonderful ways to approach this month, approach this process, and hold ourselves through it. So with that, I hope you all have a beautiful December. Let me know, are you also feeling the mystery? Are you also feeling the fatigue? Are you also feeling the wonder of it all? I want to hear about that because I think the more we talk about it with each other, the more you leave comments and everybody gets to read those and then add their own, the less it feels like we're doing something that we need to be ashamed of, the less it feels like we're alone in this strange journey that this doesn't make any sense, and the more life takes on this magical quality. So please let me know. I'm, like I mentioned, going to be leading our Gentle New Year series. It's going to be 4 weeks starting on the Wednesday before the solstice. I think that's the 20th. And every week I'm going to offer up a little session with rituals, a conversation, something to hold you through this season of walking into a new year. It's really about how we honor ourselves and let our true selves come with us on the journey, and to find our magic and our faith and our softness within it all. So if you're needing support, because this can be a pretty intense time of year, I would absolutely love seeing you there. You can, of course, find me on Instagram or my website. I would love to see you here as well. Please subscribe or like if you are enjoying this work and you want to keep going on the journey with me. I would love to keep doing the journey with you. So I'm sending you all so much love. Have a beautiful December. Take care of yourselves. Go gently and wildly into this next month. Talk to you soon.